I am Piper Titus. I'm one of the owners of KeepTruckin, and we have had the good fortune of working with KeepTruckin over the years. And this year we asked them to work with us on talking about a really controversial issue in trucking, which we want to kind of desensitize, we want to normalize, we want to take away some of the fear and anxiety, and we really want to try to message. Our goal today is to message to drivers the importance of dash cams, event recorders, whatever you want to call them. They've got a lot of different names, but let's call them videos, okay? So we're going to start, we're going to do some introductions. I have a few poll questions because I want to kind of get an idea of who we're talking to today, who's here, who's listening, what are you trying to learn. We're going to look at a presentation to go through some basics to kind of tee up the conversation. We're going to lay out a few ground rules for the conversation. The goal here is not to get off in the crazy sidelines, and it's also to make sure we can cover a lot of content, because every single one of you has a different experience with a dash camera or an event recorder, and thereby every one of you should have different questions. So we're going to try to cover a lot of ground today. So again, I'm Piper. I'm going to moderate, and I'm going to turn it over. Sorry.
Thanks. I'm Abhishek. I'm a director of product at KeepTruckin.
Dan Titus, I'm the co-owner of Page Transportation.
Scott Crawford, I'm the safety manager at Page Transportation.
And I'm Travis Baskin. I'm the head of regulatory affairs at KeepTruckin. You might not recognize this handsome fella up there, but COVID allowed me to, take some liberties.
Scott and I actually commented on the same thing. We've been on quite a few Zooms together, and we were like, who is this guy? Okay, so I wrote them down, but typically group participation makes people uncomfortable, and so I am very socially awkward, so I'm probably going to make it more uncomfortable for you, just to advance apologize. I'm looking for a show of hands to a series of maybe like 8 to 10 questions. It's both for myself and for the people on the stage. We're trying to get a gauge and understand what your experience is around this topic, and what kind of some of the value drivers are going to be for you to hear about. So I want to start with the most basic question. Who in this room, whether you're a fleet owner, you're a driver, well, that's really a fleet owner or driver, who here has an event recorder or has used an event recorder? Okay, good. Dash cam event recorder, same idea. Okay. Do we have any drivers in the room who were forced to use an event recorder or a dash cam? Okay. Anyone else besides this gentleman? Okay, you and I are awkwardly going to become friends. Okay. By chance, did it come to the point where you felt like you were going to quit if you had to have an event recorder? Okay, good. I mean, there's not a right answer, it's a poll. Okay, who here either as a fleet owner has a truck that's been in an accident or themselves has been in an accident? And we look at accidents like collisions. So who's come in contact with another commercial motor vehicle or a passenger vehicle? Okay, good. I mean, bad. We agree, bad. Okay. Okay. All right, we're gonna get off a little bit off the beaten path, but I want you to kind of like follow with me. Who here has done a phone upgrade in the last 3 years? Okay, every one of you raise your hand. You have. Okay, phone upgrades. All right, who here as a teenager did not have a computer? Right? You all missed out on a sweet game of Oregon Trail, right? Or what was it? Road to Sturgis. Road to Sturgis was also very fun. Okay, now of you people that raised your hand because you did not have a computer, how many of you have a computer now? Okay. All right, good deal. Okay. All right, I have 2 more I want to ask. Who here has paid a deductible, whether it's business or personal? More likely it's business, but who here has paid an insurance deductible when it was not your fault? Right? Oh, it hurts. Like it's even worse there. Anyone else? Okay. And last question. Again, if you're in this room, most likely you have personal insurance, like on your home, your personal vehicles, and then you have commercial insurance, right? Liability, physical damage, you know, you might have some crossover, but who here has more than $250,000 in personal liability insurance? Personal, not commercial, personal. Okay. Okay, good. All right. Okay, so I think we have a gauge. I think we have a nice mix of people here. It looks, they seem relatively friendly. So if it works for you, can you kind of tee us up and take us through some of the KeepTruckin products? You know, for a little bit of background, we've been with KeepTruckin about 4 years, and we've used 5 other ELD solutions, 3 before and then bashedly 1 during when we weren't sure if we wanted to stay with KeepTruckin. And we personally have stayed with KeepTruckin. Dan and I run about 350 trucks, and we use a mix of company drivers and owner-operators. And we don't believe in a forced model, so we follow regulations. But we also are plagued by those same regulations, and businesses have been built around, you know, there's 2 things in business, making money and keeping it. So, you know, we've found that KeepTruckin has been one of our best advocates for how do we keep money, right? And so we asked them to participate in this because we think that their technology, and again, please remember the point of this presentation is get a dash cam, have a dash cam. But we think KeepTruckin technology is really some of the best out there. So Abhishek's gonna walk us through it, and then we're gonna try to take about 40 minutes and really dive into some question and answers and see if we can't flush out some of the issues. Does that work for everybody? Okay, fantastic.
Thanks a lot. So, quick background on me. I'm Abhishek. I'm a director of product at KeepTruckin. I focus on our safety and compliance products, and I want to thank Piper and Paige for having us here today. We were very excited to talk to you guys about dashcams and how they can also help preserve your privacy while getting the benefits of dashcams. So I'm going to walk you guys through a little bit of how these products work, how they help drivers. Then we're going to open it up for panel questions. So just a quick agenda. We're going to talk about how cameras can help drivers. How can they help maintain privacy? We have some exciting things to talk about here. How can they help with liability? And then, of course, get into the panel pieces. So KeepTruckin at a glance. As Piper mentioned, they've been with us for 4 years, but we actually started out in 2013 as a free logbook application. And since then have expanded our products and the number of industries and customers and types of fleets and drivers we serve tremendously. We solve some of the most consequential problems for our customers. We help you do ELD compliance, IFTA, DVIRs, safety, you know, how to manage your fuel more efficiently. You can even you know, look at loads through our smart load board. And since then, we now serve over 110,000 customers. We have over 650,000 vehicles that are you know, basically visualized here over a 1-month period. And it's through this vehicle network that we can ensure that we're building some of the most personalized as well as some of the most advanced products for you using these insights that we can derive to ensure that it's helping these products help you become a better, safer fleet, a more profitable fleet, and of course, a more sustainable fleet as well. So I'm going to talk now about our dash cams and how they work. Next slide.
How can AI dash cams help drivers?
Correct. So when we think about AI dash cams, when we think about safety when it comes to drivers, we think about providing a full stack solution. What we mean by that is a few things. We want to make sure that's an end-to-end product that's turnkey and is as automated and real-time as possible. So it starts with our AI dash cam. Our AI dash cam automatically detects you know, unsafe things happening on the road, creates these videos. We add additional insights on top of these videos in real time, and then we make it accessible to you, especially if you're a driver, directly through our mobile application. So let's say, for example, the camera picks up you know, that there was a collision that happened. We verify it. We ensure that there's additional details and insights we can add on top of it. And then we notify you, and you can have access to that video in real time through our mobile application. There's also a whole back office experience that you can use to manage these cameras, but also learn more additional insights and information that can help you really build your safety program if you want to be able to use it to coach your drivers and improve their behaviors. When it comes to the AI Dashcam, we've really designed this camera with a driver ease of use and reliability as two key components of how we make sure this works. How that comes in your day-to-day use of it is, first, it's a really quick self-install process. It takes you only about 10-15 minutes to install the camera and get going. I've done it so many times I can get it down to 5 minutes now, but and I'd love to see if someone can beat me one day. But that's how quickly it is to install it. You can put it on your windshield. We have an application. We have a mobile application experience that shows you step by step how to do it, and you can get driving. The other thing that is really important about it is it also has a quick capture button. So you see in that picture right there where that blue light is, you can press that if there's something that you think you need to capture that's happening on the road, and it automatically creates a video that you can access later on. From a reliability standpoint, we've also ensured that it has the highest resolution available of any camera. And that 1440p resolution is really key and crucial for when you want this camera to protect you and your business and especially those moments when it's not your fault. It also comes with a battery. So, unfortunately, sometimes accidents happen where there's some catastrophic loss, catastrophic power loss especially. The vehicle can lose power. Our camera comes with an industrial grade battery. So what that means is it ensures recording in any of those moments for up to 2 minutes, in case of that power being lost. And that's really important because, again, you want this video to be there for you to protect you and your business. The last thing I'll mention is it has the ability for you to go and recall video. So that's an important capability if you want to go back and identify any moments, in your driving period, easily through our cloud web experience. You can pull video for up to 60 minutes. It's a really cool time-lapse video that helps you see everything you did, and then you can go back and pull the exact moment that you need. And so it's through these capabilities that we think cameras are extremely beneficial for drivers, and they can help really protect you, as some of you have already mentioned when we were doing the poll earlier. But you don't have to hear it from me. Let's actually see what our drivers say about some of these cameras.
My name is Alnorker Mohammed. I've been driving a few years with Tripod.
My name is Greg Vanderhyde. I work for Wessex Incorporated.
My name is Corey Michael. I'm an owner-operator company driver for KeepTruckin.
Nowadays, truth is a scarce commodity, so a dash cam really helps. When a customer complains, saying, oh, one of your trucks was doing this or that, then Stacy can quickly get, into the dash cam, video or feed, and then he can, see what's going on, right?
Yeah, at the end of the day, having a recording of what's going on is my livelihood, is to keep my license in good status, right? My bad, I had an incident, I changed lanes and hit another car. I had no idea where that car come from. I kept checking the mirrors, and there was nothing there. I'm lifting myself up, trying to look over the hood and everything. There's just nothing there. If I were to get in that accident and I was on my phone or I was accused of being on my phone, at least the cameras will prove I wasn't on my phone. I wasn't talking, I wasn't being distracted. I was doing what I'm supposed to do.
I got a cousin that drives trucks, and he don't have a dash cam. And he was sitting at a traffic light, and a gentleman next to him, his back fender was ripped off his car. It was hanging off his car. And he made a claim and said that my cousin sideswiped. You see what I'm saying? And my cousin, he's still fighting that right to this day because he don't have proof. He didn't have proof of what went on in that incident.
It works out great. I'm interested myself, so I look at the end of every shift after you're done driving just to have a recap if there's anything there. So again, it helps it helps me practice better skills. Sometimes I didn't realize how often I was hitting the brakes way too hard until I could see it on the app and think, oh, I'm doing this every day. quickly to start. Because I know that, then I can change my driving habits.
Seeing that video, it has helped me so much from the fact that slow down. It's simple as that. Just simple as that. Just slow down because you never know what the car in front of you is gonna do.
My advice to the other drivers is, it is a good thing, it is, use it to your benefit per se, you know what I mean? Use it to improve yourself as a driver, use it, to learn from it, because we all develop bad habits over time. It's just human nature.
When management made it clear they're not just sitting there looking at our cameras all day, they got better things to do than see whether or not we brush their teeth. That's not what it's about. They're not spying it. They're really, this camera is there for my protection. Because if somebody said, "They were my fault," even though they weren't, and I don't have a camera, I feel like as a truck driver, I'm not going to be given the benefit of the doubt. So I can make myself a better driver, and the company's definitely going to prosper from that too.
Well, I think that sums up why we think dashcams are so important, right? But let's talk a little bit about privacy. We know that privacy is very important. We know from a driver standpoint, your vehicle is your top asset, right? It's basically your home. And nobody wants to have a camera watching them when they're also at home. So let's say, for example, you heard one of the drivers say that management wants to introduce driver-facing cameras because they've seen an uptick in accidents because of cell phone usage or other things. Maybe they're not driving attentively or things like that. The dual-facing dash cams can help with that. Now, one of the challenges with these is in most products, they're always recording. So what we've done is we've introduced a brand new driver privacy mode. And the way this driver privacy mode works is it works for you only when you're on the job. So what that means is it's based off of your driving status. Let's say you're on duty, the camera is going to be recording because you're on the job. It's supposed to be a tool that helps you get better, as some of these drivers said. But when you switch off duty, let's say you're in sleeper berth, the camera automatically turns off and stops recording. Because we know that that's your home, and that's the privacy that we don't think these cameras should be recording. And like you said, nobody really wants to see anyone brushing their teeth or doing whatever they want to do, so you should be able to have that freedom to move around as you please. How do you know as a driver that this is actually turning off the video? Well, you see that green bar right there? That's what we use in the camera to basically tell drivers that it's no longer recording you. And so through this, your privacy is preserved while ensuring that the camera only records you when you're actually on the job and helping you improve your behavior or improve your driving, as some of these drivers were saying. The other thing that's really important is, let's say the camera privacy mode is on. We also make sure that in the back office, they can't see your video. So on the top right there, you see an image that says privacy mode enabled. That's what the back office can see. So management also can't see what's going on because they know that the privacy mode has been enabled, and they have no idea what's happening there. And so through this, our philosophy is, how do we make sure that these products preserve your safety, but also preserving your privacy? KeepTruckin has always been a driver-first company, whether it's through our logbook application or through some of products like these. And we want to ensure that drivers are getting the benefits of these dash cams as they're trying to improve their behavior as well. So I'm going to show you now a demo of how it works.
I'm going to try to make the 20-minute
So this is a quick video of how the privacy mode works. You can see the road-facing video is being recorded. The privacy mode has been enabled, so you have no idea what the driver is doing in this case. Their privacy is preserved. You can also see, of course, that this driver ran a stop sign. So this is the benefit of cameras like this. You can use it to improve behavior while ensure that you're maintaining a driver's privacy in their own home. Next slide. One more slide. So The last thing we want to mention about dash cams is we know a lot of the accidents that happen on the road are not the driver's fault. You know, I think many of us, if you haven't, I'll tell you right now, we've seen the stat that says something around 80 to 86% of accidents that happen on the road are not the actual driver's fault, and it's typically the motorist's fault, or they get blamed for something. But the problem is when you don't have a camera, this, not having that video sometimes can be, can end your business. And that's the thing that we want to make sure that these dash cams help you do, is protect your business. When we've surveyed our own customers or analyzed the data from 5,000 KT fleets, such as Page, that use our cameras, we've seen two key things that really stand out. One, 72% of our customers have saved money through exoneration by the use of our dash cams. Two, 22% of them, or all of them have reduced their accidents by 22%. And these are FMCSA-based reported accidents within 1 year of using the dash cams. So if you add that up, that sums up to at least $72,000 saved on dash cams alone, on accidents through the use of dash cams, which makes this a no-brainer as an investment in your business. So through this, we think that the benefits of dash cams, while it's there to help you improve your behavior as a driver, it can also really be a tool that protects your business. And I love this thing that Paige and I were talking about this earlier, that we think this is actually the cheapest insurance you can buy. I'm sure there's great insurance programs out there for you as a driver, but we think as a dash cam is probably one of the best things you can do to ensure your business's livelihood. So with that, I think we're going to turn it into a panel as move to the next portion of this.
Thank you so much. Okay, so in my head, a good panel discussion works with questions from the audience. I wrote some down just in case there are no questions from the audience, but this is a safe space. Everybody here is safe. And the idea here is we picked a controversial topic because we want to dig in and try to flush out some of the fears, anxieties, concerns, things around this. So let's open it up to the floor. Questions? Yes, ma'am.
So what's happening if the truck is parked and the driver is off duty and you get an accident on the yard? Does the camera record it? Do you save it, and for how long?
It's a great question. So it depends on how the privacy mode is being used. So you can turn on the privacy mode, and it automatically goes into privacy when the engine is off and the vehicle is parked. So the inward-facing lens is off. What you can also do is set up in our product to turn in road-facing video while the engine is off and continuously keep recording. Through that, you can actually go back and pull video should you get into an accident, or let's say someone hits your vehicle, if you can see it through the road-facing lens. So you can basically keep the camera recording, pull the video as necessary, while making sure the driver-facing lens is turned off.
Truck stops. Truck stop incidents are a huge percentage of the portfolio of incidents or accidents that we see, and I can't count on all my digits how many times in the last year we've had a hood torn off, windows torn off, trailers backed into, tarps ripped on dump trailers, where we've had the ability to go back and recover this video, and it is to the point of the presentation and to Piper's constant nodding over here. It is so fast in its resolution of the issue that I don't know how we would quantify the dollar value to the time it takes chasing somebody, chasing the other carriers or the other party's insurance company, or the manpower in today's short labor market that people spend allocating to trying to get squared up on something that is 100% the other party's fault. Nothing that we have used over the last number of years, no matter how good our claims reporting process was, no matter how good our documentation was around picture taking and accident report filings, nothing tells the story as fast and resolves the issue as fast with the other carriers and the insurance companies as videos.
Yeah, I agree. 4 minutes to 4 hours. We find if we have event recorder video, we can resolve issues in our fleet 4 minutes to 4 hours. If we don't have event recorder video, you're in for the long haul. Like your kids are moving from elementary school to middle school, and like, you know, you're jumping into the next set of age because that's how long claims take to resolve when you don't have event recorders, generally. Did you have a question?
As far as the privacy mode and the drivers being able to turn that on and activate it, I wasn't clear on duty status. Can they still turn it off? Because I saw it was driving at 54 miles an hour. If that is the case, is that something that an admin can change so that if it's on duty, the driver has no access to turn that feature off, activated, I should say?
Yeah, so the privacy mode is fully configurable. So you can have it, you know, as I mentioned it, which is, you know, configured based off of the driving status. You know, automatically goes into sleeper berth, it turns on. If you don't want that, if you want it on at all times, even when they're on duty, you can actually configure it that way too. So we make it fully configurable for a customer to choose how they want to utilize it.
Thank you. All right. Yo, let's find out what we got coming up next. I'm excited. This is fun. Get my steps in, closing my loop, my rings.
Hi, do you provide any other coverage besides the dash? In other words, maybe a 360 or a rear camera?
Great question. Great question.
Yeah, as I'm sure you guys are familiar, and as you know, as I'm sure much of the audience is familiar, accidents don't just happen, you know, outside of the road, right? In fact, in our analysis, we've seen almost 60–70% of accidents happen on the side or on the rear. So as a point of helping customers reduce their accidents on the road, we think this is certainly a very important area for you customers to have visibility across their entire vehicle. So for us, you know, I think we are exploring how that's possible. There's a number of options already available for customers today, and we think that there's always ways to improve on those options. So we are exploring some of those things without going into further detail.
KeepTruckin has been great with us. Like when we talk about things, they don't stop. So that's one of the reasons we've liked them as a vendor. And again, there's lots of great vendors out there for cameras. The Falcon Eye program is great. You can go on Amazon, you can pull a ton, and I wouldn't sell people away from KeepTruckin because there's also a lot of drawbacks. And we should talk today a little bit about hardware drawbacks. But in our experience, KeepTruckin never stops. They keep going and digging, and it's like a change management to make the products better.
Our interaction with KeepTruckin to date has been a very fluid one, and we've been fortunate to be working with them really, you know, from the beginning of our experience in testing ELDs and settling on a specific provider, them being that provider. And quite honestly, you know, although this is a little more Piper's purview, our understanding how we work together as partners in our business lends itself to any decision that's made relative to some sort of compliance or regulatory technology or software that we use, it having to get rolled out into the entire operation. And operations is more my focus. So before we go and make a decision, you know, we have a dialogue, and then we strategize on how we're going to roll that out. I can't finish the rollout before Piper and the KeepTruckin team are working on the next thing. So, you know, I don't know that I'm supposed to speak out of school or not or what, but stay tuned on your question, because to the point, the statistics is what very much often drives the direction that these folks drive value back to us. And there's not been an area where they identified something in the information, had the statistics that supported that information, and didn't get us some tool that helped us, you know, address that concern.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question for yourself. And as owners of a company, as a driver, I don't really think forward-facing dash cameras are very controversial any longer. It's the ones that face you that tend to cause agrimony and loss of retention. So how do you as a company do coaching in an environment where I could see if you don't do coaching and there's an incident and there's evidence of you allowing a driver to have bad habits that could be used against you? So how do you ensure that you're protected without stressing the drivers to the point where they feel their privacy is and is impacted and they're being overcoached?
Two items I think really drive this for us. You know, our corporate philosophy around transparency. That is the fundamental basis. If you don't have transparency, you don't have trust. If your guys don't trust you, they ain't gonna be here. You know, that's just the fundamental basis of it. And then from there, education, because the misinformation that exists, that I saw it on Facebook or I heard about it on TikTok, you know, more of that is not real than real. And to your point around things being on, you know, being on camera and the anxiety that creates, you know, the information, and this isn't intended to scare people, this is intended to be transparent and develop trust. We live in a day and age where we are on camera. You're on camera everywhere. And if you don't have the camera, the vehicle in front of you has the camera, the vehicle behind you has the camera, the passenger car, every single person in this room, for the most part, has a camera on their phone. So, you know, those cameras and those phones pop out, and, you know, not to get off into the weeds, but, you know, I feel for my kids today, because I know if I were a kid in the day and age of how all of the stuff that winds up on camera, I might not actually be sitting here today. So, you know, I think from that standpoint, you know, educating folks around how visible things are in today's world, and educating them around the understanding that the more visibility you have, the more protection you have. And it being a crawl before you walk philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we start the coaching and the counseling and the education around you having proof of your actions, and that being for the good actions you take when you're not at fault, and then mitigating the bad action, because in today's litigious society, you know, you can have and we've seen this so often to a maddening point, you can have a small fender bender, and that passenger vehicle wants $100 million. You know, so, you know, if it's their story against yours, I think the statistics are overwhelmingly, you know, lopsided. 80% of the time, the commercial vehicle is not at fault, and 90% of the time,
Over that 80%.
yeah, I mean, it's the exact opposite. So we're being held accountable where we're not, being able to educate you guys and gals around the value it drives to have your own proof and your own power. And once you see some of that value, and for us, it's the testimonials of our drivers who've been in those experiences. It's drivers sharing their experiences with other drivers.
Mm-hmm.
It's not owners pitching something because we recognize we might get a discount on the insurance. You know, it's about drivers explaining how much faster they got back on the road, how the DOT officer or the on-scene police officer changed their tone so quickly when they saw the video, and how, you know, how much quicker they went on the road, how much faster and more clear the incident reporting was, or the ticketing was of them and not you. And I think once we start to do that, being able to drill into the coaching and counseling around it is, you know, we talk about it around our culture of care. And the culture of care isn't just the care of our equipment. It's not just the care of our drivers. It's not just the care of our employees. It's the care of the general motoring public. It's the care of the employees, of the customers that we visit. And all of that culture can lend itself to coaching for everyone who's in it.
Right.
We aren't going to take responsibility for the coaching of the passenger vehicle, but we are going to, you know, as we talk about our deck, so to speak, our slide deck, when we get sued, and we get sued with every accident that we are in,
Mm-hmm.
the numbers are crazy high. When that happens, being able to show, to your point of, you know, what are you doing? And if you're not doing something, are you making yourself liable? You know, it's the things you are doing that help build your case, help inform that jury, help you offer comfort that you're doing the right thing, that you're providing the steps of culture of care that are important.
So specifically to your inward-facing camera question, we don't believe that you can ignore coaching events. And so that's one of the reasons we really like KeepTrucking's tool, because we coach. So Scott is a former driver, and he's one of our safety managers. And we coach every single event. But we take a little bit of a different approach around how we coach drivers. So bear with me for a second. How many of you in the room that are not drivers? So you're not a driver, you don't have a Class A. Okay. How many of you have taken some kind of a professional development class in the last 6 months? Anything. Could be like teamwork, communication. Okay. Now, how many of you in the room are truck drivers? Okay. Now, how many of you have taken professional development classes in the last 6 months? Right, you took them because you work with us, right? We take a little bit of a different approach here to our idea around coaching and counseling because so often it's made to be punitive. And the way that our team works, so Scott, myself, Shane, and it really has become pretty widespread, is that we look at it like everybody else is getting professional development. Why shouldn't you? Why shouldn't you get regular coaching and counseling around your behaviors? It doesn't need to be punitive. Why can't it be normalized that you get your license? My mom got her license 35 years ago. She walked into a DMV and took a test on paper. You know, and she just had no requirement for professional development. Why can't it be normalized that truck drivers get professional development and they get coaching and counseling, and it's a reminder to slow down. It's a reminder not to be distracted. It's a reminder. And if you're doing something wrong and you get caught on camera anyways, if you're in an accident, it doesn't matter whether you're on camera or not. They're going to find you at fault. So it can. They're really right. They're really good tools. But it's not. But the thing is, and this is why we say, and you know, again, we love Keep Trucking. I hope that's very clear. We at our company, we don't care what camera you get. We just want you to get a camera because it's the cheapest form of insurance you can buy and it protects you, you know?
We also don't require inward-facing cameras. The crawl before we walk philosophy wasn't to come out and smack our drivers in the face. It was to start to educate them, allow them to see the value, and allow them to get comfortable with the progress by which we did this. You know, do we think in the end the majority will? I think they will, and I think they'll get there on their own. I don't think it'll be the kind of thing we have to force. I think our society is pushing between lawyers and insurance and whatnot. They're pushing us in that direction anyway. I think naturally trucks come with more safety features. Technology continues to advance. People will get there on their own. I don't want to be the guy from a retention standpoint that says you have to do this. You know, I want to do the thing that protects our business because we care about our people, and we care about the general public, motoring public. You know, my kids, my family drives up and down the same roads with our trucks every day. You know, I want our guys, to the point Piper made around coaching, I want our guys to be the best there is because they're going to be around my family as much as they're going to be around yours. But I'm not going to run them off in the process.
Very, very delicate balance.
Just one thing I would also add is, to your point about transparency, one of the things that you maybe heard in the video, but is available in the KeepTruckin app, is all these videos are available for drivers. And so when it comes to transparency, when it comes to communication, when you give drivers access to their own videos, what we've seen on our side is such a higher usage of the product, and actually a lot of positivity around it because they then can actually see something visually that helps them improve. I think it's very much like if you play any sports, you have a coach. And a coach also shows you videos, right? Hey, let's say it's basketball. Here's how you should rebound better. It's that kind of visual experience that helps you get better over time. And so what we've seen is in the app, when drivers actually have access to their own videos, and we make it easy to communicate back and forth. You can leave comments on there. The office can see it as well. We've seen that increases the transparency and communication so much more than if they didn't have access. And I think that's what actually makes it really better for coaching, is that you don't have to be there, but they can still be coached on these videos by just getting access to it.
So for drivers who may be reluctant to this change, like how are you able to make them comfortable?
Oh, that's a really good question. Scott. Because Scott deals with a lot. That's a great question for Scott.
We've just, in our safety meetings and stuff, just show different videos, use different examples where guys have been exonerated, or we like, the word of mouth, truck drivers talk to each other, and, this saved me from this or protected me from that. And, we do have a culture of care, just try to force to them that we're doing this for you and we're not doing it for us. I don't want to sit there and watch safety videos all day. They're actually pretty boring, but, you know, you do see something exciting, and it's just to help them become better drivers, to help exonerate them if there is an accident or something.
We do,
The single biggest issue, the single biggest opportunity is the proof
yes.
in the videos themselves.
Yep, we show the videos at every safety meeting. We update it, and we just run a 30-minute segment where we show 30 or 40 videos, and it's just to show them, like,
Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's a bear running across the road in front of the truck, and we have like a segment where it's, you know, the animal of the meeting. Like, it's a bear, it's an elk, it's a moose, it's a deer, it's a family of raccoons, it's whatever. But you know, that is two videos of the 20 or 30 where cars are pulling out in front, people are brake checking, people are literally swerving in and out of traffic, spiking brakes, and then between those videos, the actual videos, and then talking to drivers who literally went through this thing and called and said, I'm so grateful that you pushed this. I'm so grateful that you educated me. I'm so grateful that I did it. It is such a weight off my chest that I went through this experience and I had my ass covered. And for us, you know, Piper's great about this. Hang on. Can you say that again? And can I video that?
and they let us.
Yeah, that feedback, they're so happy that it's gone that way. It's gone so smooth and it's worked so well, that, you know, coupling that with videos, our safety meetings every month are 6 to 8 hours. And there's a section that is, you know, relative to that professional development, that driver training. Those testimonials coupled with those pictures is 30 minutes. That 30 minutes every month literally lends itself to an increased adoption rate.
Mhm.
Because it's those guys, the guys they ride with every day or drive with, who they respect, who they know are multi-million-mile safe drivers. You might have said a year ago, I'll not travel. Who now did. And miraculously were involved, or surprisingly were involved in an accident. And were not so surprisingly resolved other behavior. So your peers are the ones saying it, and it's not us, it's not management, it's not ownership. The adoption rate tends to be much faster.
I've been sitting here silent for longer than I ever care to. I think, you know, what I hear, the main benefit for drivers adopting, I think, is controlling the narrative of an incident. You know, to Dan's point, there is a significant amount of data out there about, you know, vehicle operations, about, you know, everybody's got an ELD in their truck, or a lot of folks have an ELD in their truck now. A lot of folks have video. There is data, there is images that is going to tell a story about an incident that occurs. And what these dash cameras can do for you is allow you to control what that narrative is. You can tell that story to your safety manager, the owner of your vehicle, the owner of your company, to enforcement personnel on the roadside, you know, to an insurance adjuster. You can tell that story immediately, so that they're, you know, what you did, your behavior, your practice, isn't, you know, twisted around by one of these billboard PI lawyers. You know what I mean? So I think that controlling the narrative is really the most important thing.
I was going to ask Scott a question, but I was going to add to what Travis just said. I work at Page with Dan, Piper, and Scott as well. But to add what Travis said about controlling the narrative, you know, we're talking about exoneration, but in some cases, we as an industry or a truck company are at fault. And I think having the dash cam helps us out in that aspect as well, because sometimes when you are at fault, you can get wrapped up in hundreds of thousands of dollars of legal bills trying to prove your innocence, where if we'd just known what the problem was up front, we could probably cut to the chase, get a settlement done, and not chase that rabbit down the hole when we shouldn't be. So I think that's something that kind of gets lost in this, is that it also can help even when we are at fault, because unfortunately sometimes as an industry or as an individual company, we have an accident, we're at fault. Let's see what it is, be done with it, move on. But for Scott, I like Scott's perspective, because Scott was a long-time owner-operator and fleet owner, and then came over and worked for us a company on the safety side. So as an owner-operator, you know, from years back before there's dash cams, you probably thought, wow, I would never want to do that anyway. But now that you've seen the safety side, I guess I would ask Scott what would be his main selling point, because he has been out in the field as an owner-operator, as a fleet owner. Now he sees the benefit of it from the company standpoint, from a safety standpoint. What do you think it'd be like if you had like one or two things you could tell an owner-operator that was thinking about whether or not to do it that you think would be a good point or the most important point?
Yeah, just the fact that, you know, myself, like everybody else, thought they're putting a camera in their truck, they're gonna hire somebody to sit there and watch every mile I drive, watch everything I do, and that's not what happens. And the way KeepTruckin is, it's just, you know, if you have a hard break, hard corner or something, it triggers it, the camera comes on, you know. Now that I'm behind the scenes looking at it, you're looking at it, and, you know, maybe the light changed, maybe a dog ran out in front of them. That's not what they're doing. That's not what we do at Page, and I don't think that's what any safety department does. And then just to look at it, you know, as Chris mentioned, I had a small fleet of trucks for 25 years. When ELDs came along and everything, that's when I decided to get out, because I was an old school truck driver and didn't want to deal with all that and didn't think it was right. And once all you did was drive truck for 25 years, that's about the only job you can get. So I went to work for Page. I drove for them as a company driver, and they put cameras in the trucks while I was a company driver. And I'd sold my trucks. The last day I sold my trucks, one of the gentlemen was taking his truck home to get his stuff cleaned out, was bringing it back to the yard to drop it off. He had a car run a stop sign. He T-boned it. He had a dash camera. I mean, that right there could have taken what my wife and I had built over 25 years as our, you know, nest egg, and completely got rid of it. Showed the dash cam to the police officer, saw exactly what happened, and saved us. You know, that could have gone bad the other way, you know. So, you know, and then to get back on point, you know, now that I'm on the other side of it, looking at the dashboard, that's not what we do. You know, we're looking at it, like I said, most of them are boring. You'll see a guy will have a hard break, roll through a stop sign, call him up, and he says, well, I stopped. You show him the video, and, well, I didn't. Well, and they admit they're wrong. I'll have to try better. It's the biggest thing that happens with anything. You get complacent. You get used to doing it. You've done it for 25, 30 years. If somebody calls you up and calls you out and says you're not doing it right, or you did this wrong, you're going to try to change it because you want to be the best. And, you know, by coaching that way, just to make somebody alert of it, where they don't think they're doing it right, they're going to try to do better.
It definitely helps mitigate complacency.
So,
I was going to say one thing. To answer also your question about reluctance, one of the things I've seen a lot of companies like Page do and other companies that we work with is they tend to have you know, to take his quote, like crawl, walk, run approach, which is maybe they'll start out with a few drivers that have the dash cams. They'll see how it works with them. They'll turn them into adoption champions. They'll make them the ones who can vouch for with the rest of the company, then slowly keep expanding from there. The other thing I've seen is really having a strong communication strategy, which means getting the right letters, you know, making sure that you're giving them ample heads up times. Hey, it's going to come out in a month. Here's some information on how it's going to work. Here's exactly what it does and exactly what it doesn't do. So for example, you're not going to be recording the audio, things like that. So then combining the, you know, communication plan with almost like an experimentation to adoption strategy that I've seen work really successfully for a lot of companies.
I don't think any two companies are alike, you know, so I think in our experience, and, you know, Piper said this 30 times, you know, our father built this business. Our father died 23 years ago. Our mom suddenly became the owner of a trucking company after driving the school bus for 27 years. When we bought the business from her, I think a lot like my dad, a lot like my mom, and ultimately us, none of this, how to run a trucking company, came with a guidebook or directory. There was no how-to instructions, you know, do A, then do B. I couldn't watch a YouTube video and Shazam, we're good. Like, so as a function of that, we really take an honest approach about being open with what works and what doesn't. Yeah, it's very much a trial and error. And being humble enough to raise your hand when you say, we think this thing could drive value to the business. We want to try it. Very honestly, there's a high likelihood it will not turn out the way we want it to. But as we go through that process, if we can find positives to take away from and build on, modify the parts of the process that we don't have great success with or we get driver pushback on, and try to, you know, just continue to make progress. It doesn't have to be progress on a crazy steep curve. It just has to be small incremental progress. Because I think anybody that works in this business will tell you, you blink twice and your day is over with. You know, you look the other way, you look back, your kids, you know, are going from elementary to middle school. You know, so it doesn't, this is not a reinvent the wheel overnight situation. You know, I don't mean to call a driver out, but Jeff Witt stood in my parking lot one day and said, we need better drivers. You know, this is a great company. I enjoy being at this company. I don't like sharing the reputation we have with some of the guys that we have on our team. I'm not in a position to go and fire 30% of our guys overnight. But taking feedback, integrating it on a small incremental basis allowed us to use processes and use, you know, technology in a way that somewhat self-police these guys. You know, it was some of that coaching around some of these events where guys said, well, you know, Scott would call and true professional operators would acknowledge it. Yeah, I can do that thing a little better. The guy who said, no, I'm not at fault, I never do anything wrong, I'm perfect, after about the 17th time somebody called him, yeah, I'm not sure that's the guy we want on our team. You know, and being honest with ourselves about that lent itself to being able to improve the quality of the product we put forth and the quality of the operators that we put around our exceptional operators.
Thank you.
What legal documents or waivers does a driver have to sign to allow the camera to be in the truck?
Travis. Travis.
I'm not a lawyer, so I'm going to hand that one to the immediate left.
Yeah, so that's a good question for your lawyer. But I'll give you kind of a basic answer. There's not one specific document. There's not a universal thou shalt, you know, sign a consent form to have an event recorder in a motor vehicle, in a commercial motor vehicle. You know, these dashboard cameras are safety technology under 393, right? 49 CFR 393, equipment for safe operation of commercial motor vehicles. You know, you're allowed to have them. There are obviously, you know, some different jurisdictional idiosyncrasies depending on whether you're operating in Canada or California or, you know, Belgium. And there can be some complexity there. But as a general proposition in the United States, you can have event recorders installed in vehicles. You ask about like what sort of waivers you should get. Like I think that it's a good practice to put it into your employment policies. If you're running a company, you're hiring owner operators, have it in your employment policies that vehicles that operate under your authority must have event recorders of some type or flavor, and I would ensure that drivers are, when they're onboarded, you know, signing that in the handbook, maybe even initialing those kind of sensitive aspects, because it is sensitive. I would also encourage, again, you know, you can decide what you want to do in your operation, but I would also encourage having, you know, signage, you know, over notice, over disclose about what the capabilities are of the technology that you have in your equipment. I hope that was adequately evasive.
That was perfectly evasive. Thank you.
All right. So I think it's pretty, I think you made the case that this is a good technology to have,
Thank you.
right? And obviously, we're seeing it even when police has dash cam, and there are benefit. But for the driver that is still reluctant and say, what becomes of the data, right? There is, it's useful when there is the event. But what happened to how the data is stored, who has access to it, that type of thing, right? Because privacy is a big thing, right? You know, everybody want to know what what happened to the data that is being stored.
Absolutely. Great question.
I'll take a pass at this, and I'm going to pass it back to Travis as well. So the way these cameras work, you know, when you install them in the vehicle, there's a limited amount that you can store on these cameras. So that data, as your vehicle is driving, is, you know, going to be written over time, right? If you have 100 hours of storage on there, maybe you have 200 hours of storage on there. That's up to you to how to configure it, whether you're driving or the vehicle is parked, as she asked earlier. You can use that, and it's going to constantly be written over. You can also pull videos from those cameras, and then the events are also triggered. Now, those videos that you pull, the events that are triggered, you know, our goal is to make sure you have control and access over your data. So what we do as a product, or what our product allows you to do, is control the retention policies on this data per your needs. And that's our approach, which is we want you to be in control of your data so you can configure it to what's desirable to your company's needs in terms of how that data is utilized.
I don't really have much to add to that. At least I can speak from KeepTruckin's perspective. The data belongs to our users, right? And we give access, you know, we provide a product that presents that data. And like Abhishek said, we've got data retention, customizable data retention features of the product as well. So, you know, you ask what happens to it. I mean, realistically, the only thing what happens to it is whatever you tell us, you know, for our perspective, whatever you tell us you want to have happen to it. Yeah.
So for us as a user, right, a buyer of the product, we get asked this question a fair amount because it's very sensitive to people. You know, you're having a conversation in your kitchen, and then all of a sudden something pops up as an ad on your Facebook about the thing you were talking about. It's a little creepy, right? So, you know, and how we've done it is we show it in safety meetings, because I'm going to say the words to you, and in your head you're going to be like, I don't know if I believe that. But because that's how people feel about it when we say it, we just show it in safety meetings. We don't do anything with it. You know what I'm saying? We use it where we need it intentionally. Like Scott's saying, 95% of the 214 events we see on average a week, I don't know what the number is, whatever it is, there's nothing. It's somebody pulling up to a stop sign, or a light changing, or a deer running out in front of them. It's nothing. So we don't do anything with it because we're using it where we need it. Because what we're using it for is to keep money. You know, we're using it to keep the money that everybody's working to retain. If you're a driver out on the road, you have very likely a $1,000, $2,500, or $5,000 deductible. If somebody's changing lanes and they pull in and they clip the front of your truck, you 100%, because you are bigger than them, are going to cause more damage than your deductible every time. Now, does your family not eat for a week? You know, like your $2,500 net that you're taking home, you give that back to the deductible. Or for us, KeepTrucking's $10 a month to put in our trucks. So for $120 a year, it is the absolute cheapest insurance our drivers can buy, because in the first 4 minutes to 4 hours, we have conditioned them over the last 3 years. They pick up the phone, they call safety, they pull those videos out, they get the videos. That's what we liked about KeepTruckin, is the videos come right to their phone. They pull them out, they show them, or they have their own recorders. We train them to know how to pull the video, they pull it, they show it, and very often, because people don't really think about this, you know, how many of you have been pulled over by the same police officer every single time over the last 20 years? You know, most likely not. It's always a different officer, right? Some of them have a ton of experience and some of them have no experience. And so if you get an officer that comes on scene to your accident and it's only the third accident he's worked, he sees the damage to that car, he's going, holy, good Lord, this truck plowed into them. Little does he know that's not what happened, right? So he writes you the ticket. Now your company's going to charge you the deductible because they have to, you know, they're going to pay for the damages. And in this, it's like this sick cycle. And it's like what you're protecting actually, I understand the concerns about privacy, but the ability to get over this feeling of invasion and get to the empowerment of being able to write the narrative, it's the cheapest insurance you can buy every day. And it really does allow you to control that.
And I think we talk about, you know, we're open about the concerns around privacy. So typically when that question comes up, what are you doing with my data? You know, how are you going to manage me with that? Or how are you going to use that against me? Or how is Big Brother going to get feedback to that? I typically ask to look at their phone. And anybody that's got an iPhone or any other kind of smartphone, you shouldn't ask the question anymore. They're tracking more of your stuff and managing more of your information than we're ever gonna on what we're doing. So, you know, if you have a real concern about that, you should go get a flip phone. You know, and last time I checked, there aren't a lot of them out there anymore.
And we also reinforce to our drivers, most of the time, you are not hauling your own commodity. You are moving your customer's freight. And more than ever, they want visibility into where it is and what's going on with it. Prices are rising, it's expensive, they want to know, you know? And this visibility and this authenticity, it's scary for people. But it doesn't mean it's bad, you know? So we are actually out of time by 5 minutes, which actually kind of makes me excited. It's like, oh, we're still talking. Are there any last minute questions? Anything any of you guys want to add before we kind of wrap this up?
I would just repeat, control the narrative. That's the very important thing that these types of technology allows for. And we're not going any further away, or I should say, we're not going into a world where there's less data. We're going into a world where there's more. And it's important that you are able to use the data, use the records, use the video, to you know, tell your side of the story, show that you're not at fault, and become a better professional truck driver, owner of an operation, etc.
You know, that's the same thing I was gonna say. It's just, you got a ELD in your truck, you got a cell phone in your truck, you got an ECM in your truck. That's all discoverable. Everybody else knows. That dash cam's gonna show exactly what you saw, where you were, exactly what happened. It's gonna tell your side of the story. Because they can take all that other information and that truck was going 65 miles an hour and came to an abrupt stop. This camera's gonna show why and how.
And I would, you know, and I'll make a statement. My closing statement will be to first apologize to Travis about what my final statement's going to be. But
That's fun.
Pretty clearly, in today's day and age, you can't drive up and down a road and not see a Jim the Hammer attorney sign with a truck, you know, emblazoned in the background. This is about protecting yourself. It's about protecting your family. It's about protecting your business. It's about protecting your livelihood, which very often is your commercial driver's license. It is your business, your family business. Our family business is 215 years old. You know, our trucking business is 47 years old. Like, our family legacy is on the line every time a driver gets in and turns a key. And so from that standpoint, empowering those people and allowing them to understand that there is an attorney out there who does not care about you. He cares about lining his pocket. And with every commercial insurance policy that gets written that has $1 million mandatory limit or a $5 million limit or a $10 million limit, he sees a bigger bullseye. So if you are not putting a shield up, if you are not lifting weights, if you are not getting stronger and protecting yourself, you are becoming a weaker target. You know, Piper and I have this saying in our family. It pertains to our girls, but you know, I think it pertains to our boys too. We raise sharks, not minnows. You know, we don't want our kids being minnows. any more than we want our professional drivers being easy targets. And the best mechanism to do that is to protect them and to coach them around how to protect themselves.
I really don't have much to add beyond what these gentlemen and Piper has already said, which is pretty great. One thing I would add is I want to thank you guys for having us. It's working with customers like you that help us build our products. This privacy mode that I talked about, it came because of customers, right? And so if you're a customer or not a customer, that's what we like to do, because that's what we like to hear from, because that's the only way we can make cameras work for you in a way that preserves your privacy, but also make sure that you're protected on the road.
Thank you. I'm sure we made it abundantly clear, we love KeepTruckin. If you have questions, concerns, comments, you want to follow up with KeepTruckin, they are over in the West Wing. It's the nicest area over there. So if you're looking for a nice experience, go visit them, ask your questions. They're so patient. I had somebody ask me about customer service. KeepTruckin, the reason we stayed with KeepTruckin is because they are one of the top vendors we have for customer service. They hear your needs, they answer your questions, they are available. They're a great company. Second item, if you're looking to come chat with any of the folks at KeepTruckin, feel free to come on out. We are just right outside here on the other side of the building next to the pork sandwiches. And we're always looking for good conversation. So thanks everybody for joining today.